All right. Okay. Assalamualaikum. And good day, everyone. So today we are going to learn chapter 10, safety and security, crowd management, and evacuation. So it is important, especially when we are organizing our event. So it is important to have a safety and security measures, and we know how to handle our crowd, and we know at some point we need to check whether we have an evacuation plan or not. Okay, so it's me again, Miss Fatima Mazalat. Okay, so now let us take a look on what we are going to learn for today. Okay, so as for today, what you are going to learn today is, wow, I have to, wow, gerak-gerak like that. Okay, so today you are going to learn on security and safety measures when conducting an event. Okay, so understand the crowd management plan, what are the risks during event, risks occurred, okay, emergency planning, and what are the risk management process and so on. Okay, so these are the things that you are going to learn. Okay, now let's take a look. Okay, what is safety and security? Okay, so according to Merriam-Webster, safety is the condition of being free from harm or risk. Okay, meaning it is you, basically you are the person who are safe from any harm or any risk when you are attending an event, for example. Okay, so as for security, it means the quality or state of being free from danger. Meaning here, you need to be free from harm as for safety, and you need to free from danger as for security. So that's why safety and security always comes together. Right, so let us see next one. Event security. So I have to move myself again. Okay. So upon entry, all guests will be required to have their bags checked and pass through a metal detector. Okay, especially when you are organizing a big event, it is very important to have this metal detector because you cannot control the crowd. When it comes to a huge crowd, especially when you are organizing a mega event like SEA Games, like Olympic, so that's why you need this particular metal detector. Okay, so even when you are at the airport, so that's why we need to have this metal detector because we cannot control a huge crowd. Okay, so metal detectors are an effective method for event security to safely screen guests and prevent prohibited items from entering the building. Okay, can you imagine if you are organizing an event and you don't have any this metal detector, and then there are few people, they are bringing prohibited items like fireworks, maybe what we call that, a metal bat. So when they have something or something sparks the argument, they will always use this kind of fireworks, that bat, or even some water bottles to throw into their competitor, or to throw into someone else. Okay, so it is very dangerous to have this kind of prohibited items from entering the building. Okay, so in order to increase efficiency of these machines, guests are asked to keep the following guidelines in mind. Okay, so whatever it is, they need to arrive early in preparation for additional security measures, because when the participants, or the what we call that, the guests or the spectators, they need to go through this metal detector, it will take quite some time. That's why they need to arrive early, and then limit the number of personal items brought into the venue in order to expedite the screening process. Okay, so you don't have to bring along a huge bag or a backpack, something like that. Okay, you only need to bring a light handbag or a light items with you, because you need to minimize the time, and you need to reduce the screening process time. Okay, so once you are in the screening area, make sure you have your tickets in hand. Why? Because it will reduce lots of time. You need to find here, you need to find there, you need to find uh, inside your handbag, which is for women, handbag is considered as 7-Eleven. Okay, it seems like me, right? So you need to prepare for a bag check by event security. And then place your cell phone, camera, and purse on the screen table and prepare to walk through the metal detector. Because it is important, you don't need to put everything inside your handbag, because you need to check any metal or any objects that is prohibited to enter into that particular event or any security measures. Okay, number 4, guests will be subject to a secondary process if the alarm sound when passing through the walk-through metal detector. When you're passing that metal detector, and then someone else or the officer will check your body, your thorough body. Why? Because we need to ensure there is no prohibited item at your body. Okay, I have this one situation when I was in normally at the airport lah. Okay, normally at the airport when I was in Madrid airport, Madrid in Spain. So at that time, I went through this metal detector. Suddenly, the alarms beeping, and then the one lady officer came, and then she said, "What happened? Open your boots," she said. Okay, so I forgot to open or to take off my boots, and I have to walk jalan kaki ayam, you know. So that's why I need to go back to queue again, and then I put my shoes and boots there. Then I have to walk again. So that's why it is important to remove everything that is not related to you, but don't remove your clothes. No, no, it's not necessary. Okay, so then number 5, alternative security screening is available to guests who are expectant mothers, wheelchair bound, or have medical condition, because you have to queue for a long time. So that's why this security screening is only people who are fit um, to queue and to stand. Okay, so event safety, we have 3 things that you need to check. First, prohibited items. Second, special permitted items. And number 3, event notices. Okay, so as for the first one, prohibited items. So these are the things, common items that is prohibited to enter at any place. For example, in airport or event. So in this case, we are talking about event. Okay, so weapons or any kind. Okay, so can you tell me what kind of what is weapon? For example, you have what guns? You have some bats or anything. Okay, so you have what we call that samurai. So that is considered as weapon. Okay, no bags, no backpacks, briefcase or purses larger than 14 times 14 times 6, which is quite big one. Okay, so you don't need to bring any bags or backpacks into an event. Okay, and then electronic devices larger than a cell phone. For example, you bring your laptops, iPads, or iPads. It is not necessary at all. Okay, so and then cameras with detachable lenses. As a general rule, if a camera cannot fit into your pocket, please refrain from bringing. So that's why when you are going to any event, you are allowed to bring only your phone. Okay, if you have any camera, make sure that camera is not too big. Okay, so normally in some places or some events, they are not giving permission for you to bring any video camera, including GoPro cameras, which is that GoPro camera is very small one, small camera. Okay, or any audio recording devices, especially when you are entering the cinema. Okay, and then selfie sticks. So it will cause people to beat other people. So that's why they don't give permission to bring the selfie stick. And then signs on sticks or oversized signs. No cooler or outside food and beverage. Normally, they will offer or they will give you something, or they will sell something or foods or beverage inside that particular place. Okay, smoking of any kind, including but not limited to tobacco, vapor, or e-cigarette. So that's why these smoking things are not allowed to enter or to bring into any event normally. Okay, so number 2, special permitted items such as medication. If you have some medications like if you are having a diabetes and you need to take a jab or injection, so that's why you need to bring that. Okay, we that organizer, they cannot they cannot prohibit you to enter or to bring along your medication inside that event area. Or maybe you have baby, you need to bring the diaper bags or something like their needs. Okay, so the baby's needs, so that's why you need to bring along everything inside that event. Okay, and then number 3, event notices. So normally they will have second screening or secondary bag searches. Okay, so especially in airport, they are not allowing you to bring any liquids more than 100 ml. So that's why for anything like perfumes or body shower or maybe shampoo, you need to bring just a travel pack one, less than 100 ml. Okay. So strobe lights, haze, pyrotechnics may be used during the show. You need to check and you need to show to the officer that you have permission to bring that things. Okay. So as for signage, a key ingredient for crowd control, and it is adequate signage inside and outside a facility. Okay, signage is very important, especially it is or it will become as the aspect of communication plans. It will communicate towards your spectators, towards the participants. So that's why signage is very important. And there are two types of signage. First, directional signs. So directional signs meaning, okay, toilets. So this is the sign for toilets, the sign for women who are wearing skirts, it's for women, and then men with ties, so that is toilet for men. Okay, it is means directional signs, right? So informational signs, there are signs inform patrons such as prohibited items, facility rules, and location of importance within the facility. So these are the signage that is very important. Okay, so next, event equals to risk. Okay, so whenever people are brought together, for example, they are went to parties, inaugurations, occasions, or celebration, there is an element of risk. So that's why they said here event equals to risk. When you are going to somewhere else, which is a place that you are not really familiar with that, so risks are everywhere. So that's why you need to always take a very good safety and security measures. Okay, these are the causes of event risk. The first one, event guest behavior and thinking. So sometimes when we attended the event, we don't know. It is not sometimes, always. Okay, we don't know other guest behavior and their thinking because we are not living under the same roof with them. Okay, even we are living under the same roof with that particular people, we are not sharing a body with them. So that's why we don't know what they think, what is their behavior. Okay, and number 2, alcohol and event. Okay, number 3, emergencies. Number 4, crowd control, and number 5, critical issues for event safety. Right, so let's take a look on the first one. So the first one, I need to move myself again. So it can be divided into allocentric, event guest behavior, and also psychocentric. Okay, as for allocentric, so in a simpler word, allocentric people is people that is very active. So that's allocentric. While for psychocentric, they are people who are quite mundane and quite passive. Okay, so let's take a look on the first one. For allocentric event guest behavior, so for these types of people, the ones excitement will tend to ignore security personnel's warning. So in this case, they only what is in their mind is basically they want excitement. They are so excited. They are looking forward for that event. While for psychocentric, they want the fun but without danger, maybe overly cautious. So they want to they want to attend the event, but they only want that particular fun, but not react too much to that particular event. Okay, and then number 2, free with money, meaning sometimes these allocentric people, they are not really care about money. Okay, it is because maybe they don't mind if they are overcharged or they will charge into something that is causing by their behavior. Okay, it is different like psychocentric. they are frugal with money, may worry about being overcharged, meaning here they are cautious and they are taking care of their money because they may worry they are being overcharged or something else relating to that event. Okay, so these allocentric people bored easily, will not complain to security until after an accident has happened. Means they are not the people that always sit at one place for a long time. So it is different with psychocentric, tends to complain about everything from people watching him or her at atmospheric conditions. Okay, so people will climb into stage and seek crowd for allocentric because they are too active. So that's why allocentric people is someone that is very energetic and troublemaker. So this is a general behavior thinking. Okay, so people will climb into stage and seek crowd. Sorry, troublemaker wants to challenge and single normally. Okay, normally. So this is the general thing. But for psychocentric person who wants to enjoy show and avoid crowd, of course they always avoid crowd because they don't want any problems happen to them and does not want to stir the pot or make trouble. So they are the people that always sit back and relax. And this kind of people, they are family oriented, which is they are not really into making some troubles that will affect their family member. Okay, so alcohol and event. So normally for non-Muslims, they will have or they will drink the alcohol before the event or during the event or after the event. But most probably or the most importantly before and during the event, the consumption of event or the consumption of alcohol is going to be a major risk if they drink too much alcohol. Okay, so they will become an alcoholic person, which it will affect the other people surrounds them. Okay, so that's why the participants or the spectator must come in contact, meaning they are free from alcohol and their minds are free from alcohol. Okay, so next one, crowd control. So when you are having a huge crowd, it's quite hard for you to control everyone. Okay, so crowd control is a public security practice where large crowds are managed to prevent the outbreak of crowd crushes, affray, fights involve drunk and disorderly people or riots, which is why understanding different types of crowds, crowd situation and crowd control system is important. So you need to check what kind of or what types of crowds um, are there during your event. What happened if you have too many crowds and what happened if you have so many people attended your event. Okay, so now let's take a look on emergency, number 4. Okay, so serious physical situation, often acute illness and injury involved. Okay, so emergency team or first aid kit need to always be there because when you are organizing any event, especially a huge event or mega event, you don't know. Like I mentioned earlier, since there is a huge crowd, so you don't know or you don't. It's quite hard for you to control everyone. So that's why you need to have an emergency team or medic team to control the situation in case there is any emergency or anything related to medical. Okay, so types of emergency. There are two types. The first one, man-made cause and natural calamity cause. As for man-made emergency situation, it caused by the man itself, meaning not really man, but it is caused by a human being. Okay, for example, fire, drowning, crime, terrorism, violence and abuse, and also car accidents. So this is something that you can control, but comparing to natural calamity cause, emergency situations caused by a natural catastrophe, for example, earthquake, storm and typhoon, landslide, and also tornado. Okay, can you control the earthquake? Of course not, right? You cannot control the natural calamity cause. So that's why it is considered as a natural catastrophe. Sorry. Okay. So critical issues for event. Okay, while there are minimal probability, so almost every attendee will have to deal with different issues. For example, pedestrian safety, bites and stings, drinking water quality, lighting, parking lot safety, electrical storms and lighting, and also electrical and gas safety. Okay, so we can check here. We have a food safety issues. When you are attending any event related to food taking, for example, you are attending a wedding event. So a wedding event, normally it will comes together with food. Okay, so it is one of the critical issues in event. The risk is high because this kind of food poisoning, it can lead to death. So that's why you need to always check as an as an organizer, you need to check the safety of the food, and as a participant or spectator, you need to take a safety measures. Okay, so this food is handled accordingly or not. Okay, so this is the food safety guideline. The first one, allow the people to return the food if they think the food is contaminated or what. And then number two, make certain that hot dishes are served hot and cold dishes are served cold. So it must be um, hot dishes served hot, but uh, the cold dishes must be cold. It's not like hot dishes served cold. So it is not good. Okay, and then number three, number three, make certain that all food is cooked to the proper temperature. And then make certain that utensils, tools, and equipment are carefully washed and sanitized between food preparation. And next, all food handlers apply personal hygiene and sanitation before cooking. So the food handlers must wear a proper clothing, and they need to always wash their hands before cooking, after cooking, during cooking, and they need to take care of the personal hygiene. And number six, make certain that the ingredients are high quality and pass the product specification and control, especially when it comes to raw materials like the picture below, the picture behind below. Okay, so that's why you need to always check the quality of the product, or especially the raw materials related to your event or the food preparation. Okay, so lighting safety issues, it is lighting, not lightning. Okay, proper lighting is important. So you need to check, there are different types of lighting, especially when it comes to an event. Okay, so you will need to have a different lighting when it comes to a concert. You need to have a different event, or if different lighting when it comes to a romantic dinner, or a gala dinner. So that's why you need to always check. Okay, so event managers should consider working with an expert in crime prevention. So when you have a low lighting, so the crime will increase. So that's why you need to take a safety measures. You need to remind all people or all participants or spectators to take care of their belongings, and they need to check is there, or they need to install anything like CCTV and so on. Okay, so mapping the event site, they need to, the risk managers should aware of holes or any danger points and so on. Okay, ensuring the parking lots and path. Normally, parking lots is a place with a very low light, so that's why it can be a creepy place for certain people. Okay, so inspecting the light bulbs on regular basis and having a backup plan. So having a backup plan or contingency plan, especially when it comes to lighting, is very important, because you can always avoid anything, or you can always avoid accidents or tripping and so on. Okay, so next, electrical safety issues. So for electrical, it should be a major concern, and it can be a very powerful form, and um, everyone, or you need to have a special or dedicated technical and electrical team. Okay, because not everyone know how to handle these electrical and also technical things. So that's why you need to have a special and a specialized team to handle these things, especially related to electrical and also technical things, right? So parking lot safety issues. Like I mentioned earlier, normally in parking lot, the lighting is very dim and very low, so that's why you need to have at least one or two guards to make sure the safety of parking lots. Okay, so both indoor and outdoor lots prevent present safety and security hazards and risks. Okay, so that particular security guard will always take care and check about your cars, your motorcycles, or yourself. Okay, so they will always check the camera or CCTV there, whether you are safe or not to walk from that particular parking lot into the event area. Okay, everyone is okay? Okay, now we are going to take a look on risk management. So according to Van der Weyden and Carlos, risk management is the process of identifying risk, assessing risk, and managing risk. So that's why risk management, you need to identify first what kind of risk, what are the risks that is occurred during your event, and then you assess that risk and you manage that risk. Okay, so in a working definition, risk management is any future incident that will negatively influence the event. Okay, so you need to know, you need to plan in future, you need to check, okay, maybe there is a possible risk happen during our event and how we are going to overcome that problem. Okay, so that is according to working definition. Okay, so what are the risks associated to event? Okay, so there are certain risks associated with event. The first one, natural disaster. So natural disaster, it is something that you cannot control, especially heavy rain. When you are organizing any event outdoor, the heavy rain will occur. So what is your solution on this heavy rain? And then hurricanes, tornado, flood, drought, fire, etc. Number two, you have financial risk, meaning you have an unforeseen cost lower than expected revenue, or maybe your cost is very high, but you don't have any revenue or very minimal revenue. So that's why it is considered as financial risk. And then number three, legal risk, disputes over contract between the event organizer and client, or maybe they are not your client or the event organizer, they are not fulfilling based on the agreement that you have signed. Okay, maybe there are some disputes or maybe there are some problems and they breach the contract. So that's why you need to always check the terms and condition and also the agreement according to what you have signed. Okay, and then number four, technology related, meaning technological failure. Like for example, if you have a webinar, you conducted a webinar, but suddenly the camera does not work. Okay, so it can be a technological failure. And number five, mismanagement, especially mismanagement. You have a leader or you have a team member that is not giving a coordination and they are not giving a cooperation towards your event. Okay, and then number six, safety and security risk. For example, having accidents, riot, or terrorism at your particular event site. And then lastly, risk at sporting event. For example, here, when you are conducting an event like a tournament of cricket, for example. Okay, so when you are an event organizer, maybe some of the players they will beat the ball and the ball will go straight to the participant, so it can be a risk. Okay, so another example is when you conducting or you are organizing an event of a rally art, for example. So your participants, they might what we call that, they might have some accidents during their tournament time or during their um, during their time. So that's why it can be a risk and you need to have a very good medical team. Okay. Okay, so the process of risk management. So these are the three things. Also, these are the three process: identifying risk, assess, and manage the risk. Okay, so let's take a look on the first one. So, okay, so sorry. So this is the first one: identifying risk and hazard, meaning to ascertain when and how a problem might occur. So you need to check. You need to list down. Okay, you need to think ahead. Okay, what kind of problem that may occur? Okay, for example, a risk of fire, for example. So you said, okay, since we are going to use lots of lighting, so maybe because of that lights is too it's too it's too, what we call that, it's too terang. I forgot the word in English. Okay, because of the lights, the bulb is too light. Okay, so that's why you need to take care. Okay, maybe if there is in case of fire, we don't need to put some curtains beside or underneath that light. Okay, that may cause a fire, right? So, and then to analyze the likelihood of problems arising as well as the resulting consequences, you need to check if there is a problem or there is a risk towards your event. So you need to check, is there any problem that will occur, and what else matters or what is important. You need to brainstorm with other team members. Okay, review of related literature, meaning you need to check, is there any similar problem happen in a previous events or any events. Okay, so you need to check, you need to brainstorm. Okay, so if this problem happens, what were their solutions? So then you need to always check and search some information. Okay. So next, okay. So this is number two, meaning you need to assess the risk and hazard. Likelihood of occurring needs to be evaluated to prioritize the issues of attention, to set up committee to manage risk, safety, and security issues. Okay. So after you have determined or after you have identified the risk, now you need to prioritize the issues. Okay. Is this problem requires urgent attention or not? Okay. So is this a problem will cause a big effect to our event or not? So that's why you need to check. Okay. And what is the likelihood of this risk happening? Why this risk happening? Okay, after you have identified in the first place, okay, you check, okay, why this problem happening? What is the root or cause of this problem? Okay, so who will be exposed to the risk? So is this risk will be a huge risk or not? Or is just a small risk that you can handle by your team or by yourself? Okay, what impact has this risk had in similar circumstances? Okay, so it will cause people to evacuate that place or what kind of huge impact or small impact that to other people. Okay, and then how will people react to this risk or hazard? For example, in case of fire, so how people will react? So of course, first thing, people will be panic. So after people panic, they will run like chicken, you know. So that's why you need to always make them calm and you need to always tell them, okay, so in case of fire, you need to evacuate this place immediately. So that's why you need to have a proper plan. Okay, so now let's take a look on the third one. Okay, I need to move myself again. Okay, so manage the risk and hazard means to look at the most effective ways of managing them. Okay, so you need to control, you need to make sure you have a plan, you have a proper plan in order to eliminate the risk, or you need to have a proper plan in order for you to reduce that risk. Okay, and then substitution plan, isolation plan, engineering control, administrative control, and also contingency plan. So these control measures are the plans that you need to have when you have identified some problems into your event. Okay. So next one, controlling the risk. So as controlling the risk, you need to have an incident reporting, meaning you need to jot down and you need to document every problem or any risk that occur at that time. Okay, so you need to have emergency response plan or ERP, and you must train your staff on procedures such as evacuation. So they need to know their roles when they are or when they are facing about the risk. Okay, and standards for risk management, a logical and systematic method of identifying, evaluating, creating, monitoring, communicating risk. Okay, so risk management, of course, you need to always brainstorm together, identifying, you need to evaluate everything in order for you to minimize and you need to eliminate all possible risks that comes to your event. Okay, so this is we are going to check on the risk management process model. Okay, so this is basically the process model. Ooh, you can see it is a risk management process by Utul 2006. So as you can see here, the first one, risk context. It comes to political, social, legal, and economic environment, which I will explain later. Okay, so this is basically the model. Okay, so next, okay, the first one, understanding context, meaning we need to check what kind of risk or what kind of problem that may occur into our event. Okay, a comprehensive risk management cannot be performed without understanding of the context of the event. We need to know the first thing or the first step that we are going to take is the first thing or the first step that we are going to take is we need to check and we need to identify what kind of risk that may offer or that may occur to our event. Okay, so identifying the risk. So preventing problems requires skill, experience, and knowledge. Something that appears safe to some of the event staff may contain hidden dangers. It is true and it's important. Okay, so identifying risk meaning after you know, okay, so something it may be something it may be safe to certain people, but it can be dangerous to other people. So that's why you need to identify what kind of risk that may occur, and then identification technique. After you identify that risk, you need to identify what kind of technique. Okay, you need to have a test event run. You need to test that event. You need to classify the risk and the SWOT analysis. Okay, you need to have an incident reporting, and next you need to have a contingency plan or consultation. Okay, you need to have a simulation, or you need to have a rehearsal. Okay, so rehearsal is important because you need to identify what kind of problems or is there any problems will occur during that event. Okay, you can always spot in earlier on. Okay, so analysis and evaluation of risk. You need to make an analyze, you need to assess, and you need to evaluate what kind of risk that may occur during your event, what kind of methods that you are going to use for your or for that particular risk. If you have a huge risk or a huge impact of risk, what kind of method that you are going to use. Okay, so that control. So control means to create mechanism to control any problem that may arise. For example, the hierarchy of control has been developed in OHS standard. So meaning you will have a special committee in order to access and to solve and offer some solutions relating to that risk. Okay, so what you need to have is like I mentioned earlier, you need to have elimination, meaning controlling the hazard at source, substitution, meaning replacing the source of risk with a safe one, isolation, removing the link between the source of risk and the person, administration, and also personal protective equipment. Okay, so after that, mitigating action. So for example, concealment areas where person may hide or where someone may hide the package or other weapons, So that's why you need to take a very clear and a very good action. And the best way to avoid problem in this area is to map the event venue and identify the areas that may be used as hiding spot. Okay, so that's why you need to have a layout of that particular venue so to avoid any problems happen. Okay, so risk communication, effective risk communication includes the following, meaning you need to have an effective and a very good communication with everyone. Okay, so understanding the terminology of risk, accurately describe and understood what kind of risk, what is risk, okay, how this risk happen, why this risk happen, what are the measures that we are going to overcome this risk. So that's why you need to always communicate. And then number two, open communication channel. You need to have a discussion. You need to brainstorm with everyone. And then number three, informal methods of communication, meaning having dinners, chat over coffee, or just a friendly talk. So that's why you need to have not only formal, but you need to have informal methods of communication. Okay, you need to always swim. You need to always discuss, or you need to chit chat with someone else. Maybe they are shy to throw their ideas. Maybe they are shy to share the information, but you always talk. Okay, and the formal process distribution of the risk plan. So the when you are distributing the risk plan, you need to make sure your staff or the person that you communicated, they understand about that particular process. Okay, so next we are going to have a risk management plan. It has four phases. So analyzing risk and determining approaches to control, obtaining statement policy related to recommended policies from the policy making entity, meaning you are obtaining a documented policy and then setting forth the desirable operational practices identified and formatting it into plan. After you have identified the policy, you need to make a document um, according to the suitability of your event. And lastly, you need to implement that plan. Okay, so as for risk management plan, the first one, it involves three steps, which is identification, estimate, meaning identification of the risk. You identify the risk and then you estimate the frequency and the severity of each risk, meaning you check, okay, so if you have a trip or technical problem, okay, how many times that problem will happen in a day. So you need to check the frequency of that problem. Okay, so lastly, number three, determining alternative approaches to controlling the risk. So how or what we are going to offer on the solution in order for us to remove or to settle down all this risk. Okay, and then four basic approaches when you are handling this risk: avoidance, transference, retention, and reduction. So as for avoidance, when one chooses not to offer or discontinue an activity or service because of perceived danger, meaning you totally avoid that particular activity, for example. Okay, and then transference, to transfer or shift the danger to another. Okay, so meaning maybe this place is a danger place, so you transfer to another place to conduct the activity, means it's a transference. And then number three, retention, the acceptance of the risk within the budget or financial structure of the agency, organization, or business enterprise. Meaning you accept, okay, this is basically a risk, so it will cost us a lot. So what we are going to take, what are the measures that we are going to take to ensure that we are going to give solution to this problem. And number four, we have reductions, meaning a reduction of exposure through operational management. So if you have a frequency of 5 times activity, so you need to reduce into 3 or 2 activities. So it will reduce the danger and reduce the risk altogether. Okay, so is that clear? Good. Okay. So number two, or phase two, the statement of policy, meaning a certain area in which organization's governing body will need to set forth policy, then the operating procedures will be based, meaning here the people or the policy makers, they need to always have a specific policy regarding this risk management. Okay, so on the on the phase 3 operational practice and procedures, and it must be some kind of practice, or you need to check whether it is a very good one or not. Okay, so it is implemented and it is suitable to our event or not. Okay, so this is an example of crowd control definition. Okay, so it is more directly relates to the action implemented. So if we have conducted or we have organized an event, of course there will be a crowd. It it may be a matter of a huge crowd. It can be a matter of a small crowd. It's still a crowd. Okay, so Front reported that good crowd planning and management improve the public enjoyment of event and encourage attendance. And Bologna 1994 defined crowd management as those measures taken to facilitate the movement and enjoyment of people. So we need to always check what kind of or what example of crowd control here, crowd management. Okay, for example, a simple crowd management is you will have a separate entrance and exit way for your crowd or for the participant or spectators. Okay, so that is one example. Okay, so this is example of a crowd happen of injustifiable crowd. How can I remove myself? Okay, so I can be up here. So in 2004, Malice the Palace fiasco help better understand how a situation can turn ugly in a matter of seconds. From a very calm tournament, it can be a disaster. Okay, if something happened. So that's why they need to always have a security and a powerful safety and security team to avoid this kind of problem happen. Okay, as you can see, they are about to argue and they are about to break others' leg. Okay, so next, I have to go down a bit. Okay, so crowd management plan, it must have a necessary actions in order to ensure that our crowd is not going to have a crazy crowd later on. Okay, so an effective plan must have um, a total number of people at the venue. So we must determine how big are people that coming to our event, and then behavior of spectators. Earlier on, I have explained on allocentric and psychocentric people, and then layout of the facility. So you need to check whether the space is quite huge or it is spacious or it's just a small space for a facility. And then movement and activities of guests. So will your guests move in one shot, or maybe you have a stage movement or activities for each guest? And then what kind of emergency response and specific concerns of guests visiting the facility? Okay, so these are some key terms related to crowd management. Crowd expectation, meaning what is their expectation when they are entering our event facility, meaning they said, okay, they will have a security team here, so the event is safe, and they assume that every precaution has been taken. Okay, so number two, crowd dynamic and demographic. So of course, for every people, it is quite complex for us to think that every people will have the same movement. Okay, like young people, they tend to walk very fast, but for old people, they will walk slowly towards the event. Okay, so as for movement theory, how people will move within and without a facility related to pedestrian traffic flow. So you need to know what kind of people that are going to attend your event. So if there is, or the percentage of young people coming to your event is huge or quite high, you need to have a very good flow of your event place. Okay, so Hugandun and Bovey asserted that certain factors contribute to walking speed. Okay, So it is according to age, gender, size, and health, characteristic of the trip, and properties of the infrastructure. And it can be because of environmental characteristic according to the ambient and weather condition. For example, you are conducting an outdoor event, so the weather is very hot, so people cannot move slowly, so they will tend to move very fast because they cannot stand of the hot weather. Yeah, I sleep my tongue again. Okay, so evacuation procedure. Okay, so this is very example that this is a very good example that you need to have a very good evacuation plan. Okay, so this is an example of Rhode Island nightclub in 2003. This disaster happened because of pyrotechnic. Okay, so a pyrotechnic was set during a rock concert, and at that time, it's only have one or two, only one exit, which is the main door. So because that pyrotechnic happens to be causing fire, so nearly 100 people are burned inside that building and resulting of death because of they cannot go out immediately. So it is a very bad evacuation place, which is it is considered as a very huge disaster in 2003. Okay. So next, unsafe crowd movement. So these are the types of unsafe crowd movement. So the first one, crowd crash. Crowd crash is caused by the compression of a crowd from big space into a smaller and smaller area, meaning they are from a very huge area and then they are moving into a smaller area but with the same capacity. So that is considered as crowd crash. Number two, we have crowd craze. So crowd pressure is caused by overexcitement, a competitive rush or push of a crowd towards a person or object. Means they are having a concert, meaning they are too excited with their group member or their favorite artist or favorite singer. Okay, and then number three, we have crowd surge, compression of crowd towards a particular direction. Number four, crowd collapse, when people at front of the crowd rush forward, causing some of them to trip and fall. So it will cause some accidents and it will cause some medical attention. And number five, we have crowd panic, refers to the out of control movement to escape of a real or perceived danger. Like example, we have previous example in Rhode Island incident. Okay, so next, evacuation or evacuation. So evacuation meaning how we are going to transfer everyone out. Okay, so the rapid, safe, and orderly movement of people in or out of a venue. And there are different phases during arrival, during event, and during egress. And high risk of making situation worse or create a new problem. So we need to check is our facility having a good evacuation plan or not? And then we need to check and we need to consider support for attendees with additional needs, especially people with wheelchair, people or expectant or pregnancy mothers. Okay, so that's why these high risk people we need always to consider. We need to always check on them. Okay, so what are the steps to develop on evacuation policy and procedures? Determine the condition under which evacuation would be necessary. You need to have a specific evacuation procedures. You need to have a system and you need to check whether your procedures assist the personnel with disabilities or not. Okay, so do you have a Dewey language evacuation plan or not? Maybe you have someone, participants or spectators, they don't know or they do not understand English. So do you have any evaluation in Malay or not? For example, you are organizing an event in Malaysia. Okay, so that's why you need to have a Dewey language or dual language evacuation plan. Okay, So what kind of post-evacuation procedures that you are going to take, and coordinate plans with your local emergency management office. Okay, so a proper plan must be made together to avoid any possible risk will happen during your event. Okay, so after that, evacuation routes and exits. So this kind of exit sign is very important. Okay, so in case of fire, you need to evacuate immediately. In case of fire, you need to go down using stairs. Okay, so that's why it is important to have this kind of signs. Okay, so when you have look into this red or green sign, it is basically, you will understand it is an exit place, evacuation place. Okay, so uh, you must ensure evacuation routes and emergency exits are wide enough to accommodate a number of evacuating personnel. You don't know what will happen until you have run through or you have go through that particular problem. Okay, so for example, if there is an emergency like fire, so you will have a very small space, a small evacuation exit. So you will have huge crowd behind you, but they need to go at that particular evacuation exit very speed or very or immediately. So that's why you need a very wide enough space. Okay, and then clear and unobstructed at all times. So this evacuation or emergency exit must be clear at all times. It must have not contains of any boxes there, anything like gates or something, grill or something. Okay, it must be clear. Okay, so the emergency exit must unlikely to expose evacuating personnel to additional hazard, and it must be evaluated by someone not in your organization. For example, our evacuation route must be analyzed by bomber, our firemen. Okay, so they need to always check whether it is safe or not to be used. Okay, so evacuation area. So assembly area and accountability. We need to have a very good, a huge space of evacuation area to avoid any problems happen. Okay, so assembly area, you must design assembly area. Okay, after gathering, and then take a head count after evacuation. Once you have evacuated everyone and assembled at one place, you need to take a head count. For example, you have 100 people together, and suddenly after you make a head count, it's only 98 people, 2 people missing. So you can take a quick action to find another 2 missing people. Okay, so establish a method of accounting for non-employees such as suppliers and customers. So you need to check for these people, suppliers and customer, what kind of methods that you are going to take, what measurement that you are going to take for them. Okay, and lastly, establish procedure for further evacuation in case the incident expand. So how you are going to do if this incident happens very fast and it is getting bigger, especially when it comes to fire. Okay, so it may involve sending employee home by normal means or providing them with transportation to an offsite location, meaning you are transporting them to another place. Okay, for example, there is a tornado happen there. What you are going to do? And then there is what we call that? There is a fire in that event area. So all burns out. All things are burned. So what you are going to do? Are you going to sit there and sighing or what? So you need to always check what else, what's next, what are the solutions, what are the steps next that you are going to take. Okay, so this is example of evacuation plan layout. You need to provide emergency. You need to have checklist. It is important to have a checklist and a name list of everyone. Uh, and then consider the information need of customer and others to visit your facilities. And yeah, that's all for today's chapter. And this is the class activity. Please do this activity, and I need every one of you to submit after the class. Okay. So I think that's all from me. So you have any questions, like usual, do not hesitate to WhatsApp or contact me personally. Okay, so that's all for today's chapter. I think I will see you in next chapter. Same time, same people. Thank you very much. Bye bye.